Hello everyone, and thank you for being here. Today, I want to take you back about 5,000 years, to the time when Malta's famous stone temples were being built. We'll explore a fascinating study published in Current Biology, which used ancient DNA to uncover who these temple builders really were, and why their society may have declined. Let's dive in. The discovery, DNA from the Zagra Circle. Archaeologists excavated a prehistoric burial site in Gozo known as the Zagra Circle. It's a complex of underground tombs used by Malta's Neolithic people around 2500 BC. From this site, scientists recovered the skeletal remains of 9 individuals. Out of those, 3 provided well-preserved ancient DNA, thanks to the protective limestone cave conditions. These 3 were labeled Zagra 5, 6, and 9. And what their DNA revealed is truly extraordinary. Unprecedented inbreeding and isolation. The most striking finding? These ancient Maltese individuals were incredibly inbred. One individual, Zagra 9, had genetic patterns showing some of the highest inbreeding levels ever recorded in ancient DNA, second only to one prehistoric individual from Ireland. This wasn't just a one-off. The data showed multiple loops of close family mating, meaning the entire community was extremely genetically isolated. The scientists estimated the effective population size to be just a few hundred people. This tells us that prehistoric Malta, especially Gozo, was not only small, but cut off from the outside world. The role of geography, islands as barriers. This brings us to an important idea, the sea. Now, we often think of the sea as a highway for trade and travel. And it certainly was, especially in later Mediterranean history. But for these Neolithic farmers, the sea also acted as a barrier. It cut them off from fresh ideas, trade, and crucially, new people. Unlike Neolithic populations in mainland Europe, the Maltese genomes show no signs of mixing with earlier European hunter-gatherers. In genetic terms, Malta was a dead end. The islanders were cut off. They married among themselves. Over generations, this led to shrinking genetic diversity, and perhaps, to problems with health and resilience. Stature and health, the physical consequences. The study also looked at their physical traits. And here, another pattern emerged. These individuals were significantly shorter than their Neolithic counterparts on the mainland. This likely reflects a combination of genetic inbreeding and environmental stress. We can imagine that life on the islands, though rich in culture, may have involved food scarcity, limited trade, and difficult adaptation to a small and closed ecosystem. Cultural context, the rise and fall of temple builders. Now, you might ask, what does this have to do with temples? Malta's megalithic temples were built between 3600 and 2500 BC. They were monumental, sophisticated, and spiritually important.
But by around 2500 BC, these temples were abandoned. Archaeologists have long debated why this happened. Was it climate, drought, invasion? What this study suggests is that isolation and inbreeding may have played a role. A small, genetically closed society may have struggled to adapt to environmental or social challenges. Without new people or ideas entering the community, the culture may have simply lost momentum. In other words, genetics may have helped shape history. Bigger picture, islands across Europe. Interestingly, this isn't just about Malta. The researchers compared these findings with data from 258 other Neolithic individuals across Europe. They found that similar genetic isolation occurred in other island regions, like Orkney and parts of Britain. It seems that across Neolithic Europe, islands developed their own distinct genetic stories, because seas, in this era, often separated people more than they connected them. To summarize, what did the study find? Let me quickly recap the main points. DNA was extracted from 3 individuals buried at the Zagra Circle in Gozo. The results showed extremely high inbreeding, especially in one individual. The estimated population was just a few hundred people. There was no evidence of outside genetic influence after the initial settlement. These individuals were shorter and possibly less healthy than others in Europe. The isolation may help explain the decline of Malta's temple-building culture. Why this matters. So why is this important? because it shows how ancient DNA can reveal hidden stories. It can tell us how geography shaped who we are. It can help explain not just health and genetics, but also culture, innovation, and even the rise and fall of civilizations. And in Malta's case, it tells a story of brilliance, of a culture that built world-famous monuments, but also of limits. A story shaped by the sea, by isolation, and by the challenges of life on a small island. Closing. This study is a powerful example of how modern science is reshaping our understanding of the past. The ancient Maltese weren't just temple builders. They were part of a unique genetic chapter in human history. Thank you for listening.